Good afternoon and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Defining Virtuosity. My name is Odin Rathnam. I'm professor of violin at Cleveland State University, and we've been going through the Wohlfahrt studies, the 60 studies. Now I have for you number 24, a very interesting study that one could argue is either for staccato or for ricochet. But given if the bow is starting down bow at the beginning of the study, and the fact that we have 4/16 connected to an eighth note followed by down bows, after practicing it a number of different ways, I decided that having a lift after each of the half notes and doing it ricochet is an interesting study, actually. So the pattern becomes. So we have to get 4 of these, 5 actually, right? Lift. And a ricochet can be done a number of different ways. One is to feel the balance shifting back and forth from the pinky towards the index finger while the arm is hanging, so that an impetus is put into the stick in this direction. And you can see, because it's made out of pernambuco and hair is tightened against the arch of the camber of the bow has a natural propensity to bounce by itself. And if we don't interfere with that, but allow it to bounce, it'll keep bouncing. It'll actually keep bouncing for a very long time if you let it. So depending on the height and the amount of energy into this pouring motion, this sort of pronation of the fingers and the forearm, you can either isolate it right in the fingers or do it at the elbow joint, like turning a door handle, the notion of turning this way. That will bring the energy into the stick. Things that will work against the ricochet are squeezing on both sides of the fulcrum. The fulcrum is the ring of power between the thumb and the index finger that Isaac Stern called it. So obviously, if I'm putting energy into this side to get the bow to bounce, I don't want to counterpress there, or the bow will stop bouncing. So when you're throwing the bow into the string, you really don't need any pressure on the back side of the fulcrum between the second finger and the thumb, or the bow won't bounce as well. The moment I do that, it stops. When I brought the weight back into the pinky, that lifted the bow from the string, so we can control how many we want. If we want 2, 3, 4, no, sorry, 5. Or more. In both directions, the same principle applies even on a down bow. You don't want to squeeze on this side of the hand when the bow is bouncing. You want to let it work for you, the wood of the stick. And that's controlled by how far we throw it in or how hard. So with that in mind, the next problem becomes controlling the planes. D, D, A, A, D, 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 A, D, and as long as we're on those planes, we can then play the study. I think a couple of other little thoughts. If the bow speed is too fast at the end of the half notes that we're vibrating, we won't be able to briefly lift the bow to prepare the ricochet. So the bow pattern on the half note should be slowing down before the lift. Then there's time to do that brief lift for the, all right? So we have 1, 2, 3. prepare it well, it doesn't work. You have to really, really practice the lift, the preparation. The other way that this can be practiced, of course, is with a staccato. So slowly. I just don't think that this short staccato really lends itself well in this case. So I've focused on the ricochet, also reversing it starting up. Or down. So we get up bow. Or down. Yeah. So both directions we can control and work on the ricochet with this study that way. It's quite tricky. You also have to be careful after the ricochet to cushion and to cushion this. So we have very different feelings in the wrists and finger springs. And here more rigid. Ricochet. These sort of combinations are a little bit tricky. So it's a gnarly little etude, fun to work with. And then at the end, just remember that, again, I'm not so fond of the fingering. I'd rather have a chromatic fingering with one shift. At the very end. And there you have it. Kind of tricky little one, Wohlfahrt study number 24. Good luck.